Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us for another stream of Orbit.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Blaze. How are you? Doing okay?
I'm doing well. Yes. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, so real quick for folks, I forgot to add our Twitter handles right down, by our names. They're still in the thing, but I forgot to come back and do that. But anyway, if you're unfamiliar with who I am Kurt Kemple, dev advocate at Apollo, and I have with me Trevor Blades. So actually, you're this way. So thank you for joining me, Trevor Blades.
Of course. Yeah. I'm also at Apollo. I work on the education team.
Oh yeah, making you folks smarter with GraphQL. I love it. So we have Orbit, and actually it's been a couple weeks, and I'm sorry for that, but you know what? Things have been pretty tight for us. I had some personal stuff going on, and then just like life, and work and stuff. Yeah. So Super Cyborg Ninja. It's not a sweater. It's actually like this Nike like long sleeve shirt that I got. But yeah, pink and polka dots. Like you can't go wrong. Like, am I right? It's just like a good combo. But
it's a good look.
Yeah, it is. I love it. It's actually one of my favorite shirts. It's super comfortable. Yeah, I love it. It's like breathable, especially even in the summer. Like for being long sleeve, it's nice. But yeah, derailment. So long story short, this is Orbit, and we're going to talk about what's new in GraphQL this week. Is this a Nike stream? No. And like, oh my goodness, we're probably going to get like some kind of infringement. I shouldn't have shown the logo. I should have covered it up,
Yeah. Infringement or product deal?
Oh, maybe a product deal, maybe an endorsement, right? Like
Nike will take one look at this stream.
That's it.
Be like, let's pump these guys up.
Yeah.
Let's not shut them down.
Let's sponsor them. Yeah, you're gonna see a Nike check mark up in the corner next week.
I wouldn't be totally against it.
I wouldn't.
I mean, Nike does some pretty unforgivable things, but
yeah.
Yeah. They also make some pretty fly sneakers and clothing.
They do, and like I honestly saw it's like funny because I used to pretty much boycott Nike, and over the last few years I've seen a really nice change in the way that they like behave. Yeah, forced slave labor isn't bad. I didn't know are they still doing that? Like I thought they stopped doing like using a lot of child labor and stuff like that. So I guess they are still doing that. So if so, they stopped. See, that's what I thought. They also used to sponsor Michael Vick, right? Dog fighter. So I just like love dogs. I wasn't too hip with that, but they don't do that anymore. And now they're sponsoring like a lot of athletes and making good headway in spaces, especially within marginalized communities. So it's nice. What's up, Chris?
Yeah,
how's it going?
It's pretty cool.
You're getting there.
It's interesting, man. Like it's hard to. I think it can sometimes be hard to accurately judge the character of a corporation.
Yeah.
Especially like a mega corporation like Nike.
Without a doubt.
You can't really look at them like a person, and like put like personal or human, apply human characteristics to them. I just know like within the skateboarding industry earlier or last year, like during COVID, there was this kind of wave of Nike ending their like business agreements or like seller agreements with small skate shops.
Oh, that's terrible.
Like, using to let skate shops retail Nike products because Nike was seeing that more and more people were just going direct to Nike.com to buy their skate shoes, and they make a larger margin retailing it themselves than selling it to a shop at wholesale price, and then them making a cut on top. So that was kind of like a that kind of left a bad taste in a lot of the world of skateboarding. For because sure. we are like very as a community, we are like typically very supportive of like the small local shop.
Absolutely.
In your whatever your
I have like
community
literal
is,
stickers that are like support your local skate shop. Like it's just like
yeah. It's like a big
yeah.
big thing in skateboarding, and so for Nike to do that is kind of like a
That is.
fu to
It is. It's a big
skate
FU.
culture. But,
And you're right.
yeah.
And you can't judge a company as a person. I agree. And I don't judge. And even people I don't consider good or bad. I judge them by their recent actions. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that was a piece of the puzzle that I didn't have. And it just sucks because you're right. They touch so many things and I can't be aware of all the things that Nike is doing. So like, what do? You know, it's interesting. But yeah, Colin Kaepernick, yeah, they've done some good there, so that's nice. Salt and Burnham, Chris, what's up, buddy? Thank you for joining us. We'd love to have you here. But yeah, that's like, wow, what a conversation. I was not expecting this, honestly. But it's a good conversation, and I hate to hear that they're doing that they did that to skate shops. Like I live for my skate shop. I love my skate shops. They're like. It's like the Mecca, you know. It's like everyone in the
like
area.
Really grassroots. A lot of the time. Yeah.
No, you didn't do this.
But
sorry. In chat, no. Super Cyborg Ninja said they did this.
Oh.
But somebody.
I'm good.
There you go.
Cyborg.
Yeah, I was already gonna get to that. Yeah. I'm
doing well. It's nice to be here.
It is nice. Yeah. So, Nisha started doing collabs with Louis Vuitton. That's really cool. That's wild.
Wow.
Yeah. What's up, Bill Dev?
Thank you for the follow, Bill Dev.
Yeah.
And Cyborg.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that. Yeah. Thank you for the follow, y'all. Yeah, so on this stream, we kind of cover like what's new in GraphQL. Normally it's the week, you know. Hey, what's up, Amin? Yeah, from Nigeria, love it. Love seeing the Nigerian dev community showing up. Yeah, we love y'all. Thank you for joining us. So we normally cover like what's new in the last week, but it's honestly been a couple of weeks. So we've got a few things, but honestly it's February and like, I don't know, I just feel like not too much is happening. So we got some fun stuff, some cool things coming up, but I guess, you know, without further ado, you want to dive in? Should we dive into these things that we have?
Let's do it.
So let me flip on over. Boom. So there we are. We got a new layout for our desktop view. Woo woo.
Oh my.
You know what I'm talking about. New layout in the house. Hope your headphones weren't up too loud. So we're going to, for our first one, we're going to take a look at, and I'm trying something new. I already have all the tabs open. So boop, all I have to do is click a button. Boom, I redid my personal website. And you might be wondering, like, why are we being exposed to this on a stream? And it's not just because I want to show off my website. There's an actual reason. But long story short is, I'm everywhere. I'm on the internet in a lot of places. And what I mean by that is here I am. I'm streaming on Apollo. I'm pretty active on other social media platforms, YouTube, right? My own personal stream. I have my website. And a lot of these communities, right? And things that I'm a part of. And actually, this is another thing that I was talking about on a podcast is like, we often look at communities as the center of it being like the thing, right? Like I'm a part of this community. But I've been really thinking about like flipping that narrative in my head and saying that I have a community I've built around me and these things are part of that community, right? So instead of me being a part of disparate communities, I just have my community and I'm in all of these different areas, right? And so like, that's kind of been my focus. And so after I realized that, yeah, exactly. After I realized that we don't really have like a system or a way in place for me to center that, right? To bring all of my community together in one place. So what I have done is I have started to build out backend infrastructure for my website, and I'm using GraphQL and Federation to do this because I don't want one, giant GraphQL server that's trying to respond to webhooks from Twitch, have a bot running for like Discord interactions, like, or also, taking, you can like posts on, on my blog now, right, and store that information. And it's like, I don't want all of that to live into one service, because it doesn't make sense. There's a lot of unknown variables, a lot of third-party apps, and things could go wrong and bring down the entire system. And it's not what I want, right? But I do want the ability to add new integrations as I go and be able to just quickly integrate them in there. So Federation was a great solution. So this is the reason why we're showing this off today, is because there's not too much of this happening right now, but I do have the ability now that when folks like posts on my website, I could actually, if I'm streaming, have that pop up on stream. I could also list the top 5 blog posts through a Twitch bot, right? Like I could do top 5, have a command, and be able to easily pull that information in, and vice versa. If I'm getting follows or chat on stream, I can have that pop up on my website. A new video gets dropped on YouTube, I could have that alert on my stream and on my website. And I think you're starting to see where I'm going with this, right? Like the goal is to create a cohesive system and essentially aggregate all of my social activity into one platform that allows me to surface it wherever I want.
So is that just to I guess kind of understand the difference between, like, are those things features of GraphQL, or are they specific to Federation? Like at what point I guess what was the motivation to pursue Federation as opposed to creating, just like additional resolvers to fetch data and serve them on a GraphQL API?
Yeah, so circling back, I brushed over this pretty quickly, but I have this is all based pretty much on third-party integrations. Bill Dev, yeah, so this is being recorded, like it'll be available as a VOD on Twitch for the next 2 weeks, and then it'll make its way to YouTube in the future as well. But yeah, it is being recorded. So what happens is, like, we have this idea of, like, systems will go down, things will become unavailable. And so what I'm trying to avoid is 2 situations. One is having something like a mishap with like a Twitch webhook or something like that bring down everything, my entire system, right? And if everything is running through the same server, you become very susceptible to these type of things without architecting in fail switches, right? Like ways to cut off cleanly each backing service, right? This gets more problematic. It's also just almost not possible, because I need to do, like, it's very hard to run a bot on the same server that you want to expose an API on. This often just doesn't work very well out of the box. And there's going to be some bots that I need to spin up and connect as well. The third reason why, not just adding it as a resolver, is separation of concerns. Like, I don't want one service to have like 15 or 16 of my API keys for all of my different backing services. I like to be able to check them and deploy them through CI/CD individually and make sure each one is working. I also don't want to fix one thing and have to redeploy every single part of my app, right? Like, I have it structured through CI/CD. If I go change something in the Twitch GraphQL API, just that gets deployed. And because I'm using managed Federation, I don't have to worry about that anymore. It just automatically gets updated for me at the gateway, and it becomes available through all the other systems.
Wow.
Yeah, so these are like
very cool.
Yeah, and these are the reasons why I chose Federation, because it just makes my system a lot more stable, right? And a lot more easier to work within, to segment work and what should be deployed and when, and now when I get into testing, it's going to be the same thing. I don't want to test my entire infrastructure if I changed one resolver for, sending post likes to my database, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. And also on the last one is the ease of adding future integrations. And like, you might say, like, well, isn't it just actually easier to add a resolver instead of an entire service? But like, at this point, no, because I've got all of this done through GitHub Actions, CI/CD. I have plop involved in there now. So I just do new service, bam, hit go, and it spins up all the infrastructure.
What does plop involved mean?
So plop, it generates code for you, files, so you can create templates
Oh.
plop.js. Yeah. And so I also use this for creating blog posts. So I could do like new posts and it will like automatically put in front matter with the title and the stuff like that and anything else that is needed for me. So that I can just hit the ground writing in that case. And
Cool.
yeah, exactly. So it's cool. I also want to integrate, like right now, all of my content is just my written content, but I want to pull in YouTube and other stuff. I want something to tick up here at the top. Like right now I'm live on the Apollo stream. It should say that on my website when you come to it. Live on Apollo stream. Come check it out, right? Like these are the type of integrations that I'm looking for. I want to create, one holistic system to represent me and my community.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it is good stuff. And so real quick, let's jump over. I thought I had the, so first of all, let me just, if anybody wants to just go check out the site, let me grab the link here for you. And real quick, Chris, you're already smart like us, bro. There's no work to be done there. Everyone has, in our minds, we tend to picture that we have this small bubble of information around us and that everyone else that we know has this really big bubble, right? And it's just full of this knowledge. It's actually not true. We have small bubbles too. It's just that ours are filled with different things because we've had different paths and learned different things along the way. And while I might know how to do federation with GraphQL, I am by no means an accessibility expert. I had to seek so much help to get my accessibility right for this website. I'm not that great with CSS and stuff like that. And it's like, everyone has a circle of knowledge, and honestly those bubbles, yeah, some people, they just have more experience, more years and all that, and their bubble is a little bigger, but honestly it's just that our bubbles just kind of cross a little bit, right? And there's like a Venn diagram, and then there's a lot of things that you know that I don't, and a lot of things I know that you don't. But don't ever feel like you know less. You just know different. It's not less, it's different, right? Yeah, sorry, derailment.
Well said.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. And yeah, so real quick, so I never dropped the link. Oh, I did. I dropped the link for that. But let me go to GitHub real quick. I have a GitHub link here because I've started to document the copy link address, the structure, and what is going on under the hood so that you can see how this works. Because one thing that is very interesting is that Federation does not support subscriptions. And a large bit of the work that I need to do is real time. Well, some of it I can get away with polling and stuff, but some I just want those real-time updates. So what I have taken the liberty of doing is showing everybody what this system looks like, the architecture, how I built it, how it works, and I broke down the different, let me make this a little bigger. I'm slacking here on that. So we've got, the architecture, it's explained how that's working. I've got my beautiful diagram here. So you can see that what happens is, is
that Excalidraw?
It is. Excalidraw. I love Excalidraw. It's so good.
Nice.
So what we've got here is we've got the website, and eventually we'll have the stream layouts and any web property, right? That exists. We'll talk to the gateway for most communication, right? But when real-time updates happen, when something happens that I want to be alerted about, I've got this custom publish directive that I can use within my schema. And that tells Pusher to go ahead and push out this event, right? And I'm using a corresponding live directive on my queries on the client. And then it's all going through a directive, so I don't have to touch it. I just define what event I want to register to within my query, and it'll automatically update the cache when those events come in, and I'll get that data.
Okay. A couple questions.
Yeah.
What is Pusher, and
yes, good question.
What does it mean to respond to a directive? This is a concept that I've never that I've never encountered in GraphQL before.
Yeah. So Pusher is just a real-time. Sorry, I hate using the word just. Pusher is a service that provides real-time functionality for you, so you don't have to build it yourself. So I have a Pusher account, and I use their server tool and their client tool, and by putting in my app ID and stuff like that, it connects the real-time for me. So instead of me having Redis and setting up my own WebSockets and managing the real-time infrastructure myself, I'm using Pusher as a service to do it for me.
All right, got it. And the directives thing. This is something that I think is probably really unfamiliar. But
Yeah,
yeah,
let's go take a look.
yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
go take a look. So we'll go here into the Twitch service, because right now this one has the most events. And so if we go into, where is it? Publish directive. Well, first let's look at the schema so that we can see what it looks like, and then we'll go look at how it's implemented.
Okay.
So what we do is we register our custom directives both on the field definition. So this is how we're going to publish the events with this one here. And then this is how we're going to receive the events with this one here.
Okay.
All right. So what we do is then, but the live actually gets added to queries. So we'll look at the client. But what happens is, this doesn't have, actually, we should look at the other one. I apologize. Website service. I don't have those configured yet, but I do here. So you can see how this works. Here we go.
Okay.
So I have this mutation, right, for like post. So when somebody goes on my website and starts clicking show love on one of my posts, it's going to queue that up and send a post like request. It's going to return the post, and then it's also going to fire off a post updated event. So in the custom directive, it's going to see this, right? We're gonna look for these particular custom directives and these event types, and we're gonna register the post updated event type with pusher as like a channel to send events down.
Okay.
Are you with me?
How do you set up a custom directive in a GraphQL server?
I'm glad that you asked. So what we do is if we go look at index, where all this stuff, or GraphQL JS, I believe is where I have this. Oh no, this is like my type defs. Okay, so let me go back. It's index where all of it comes together. Yes, here we go. So what I'm doing is I am including my publish directive, right? I then build my schema, and then I'm doing this schema directive visitor, visit schema directives, and I'm passing in the schema and my custom directives. Now, in this case, I only have one, which is underscore publish, right? So now this is officially registered as a custom directive, and this will be run on field types, right? So what happens is if we go into publish directive and we take a look, it's not a lot of code. So we're working with this visit field definition, right? And so the field definition, this is the function that you'll define in the schema directive visitor class to override, to access a directive that's defined on a field. And what that means by on a field is like, if we go back to the schema, but this time I'm gonna open it up in a new tab so I don't have to keep switching so much. If we go to the schema, what that means is, see how we have published event on field definition? So like that's why we're targeting that particular class function. We get the field.
Okay.
We're going to get resolve, the default resolve function. So this is like what would be called when this field was hit if we didn't add our decorator to it, right? We're essentially creating a higher order component to wrap around the original resolver. So then what we do is we define our own resolve function that takes the same parameters, and then you can call the original resolve and get the result. So in let's say we had a directive that needed to do something before you actually called the first one, like an authentication directive or an authorization directive. In that case, you would want to put your logic before this line when you ran the resolve function. And so now what we can do is I'm pulling pusher off of the context, right? So I'm instantiating pusher in index.js. I'm adding it to the Apollo server context, and then I'm triggering the event, right? So I know that I'm doing it on the pusher channel, which is like a thing. The event is being pulled from the arguments, and so that event corresponds to event, so post updated. So it's going to fire off post updated. And that's it, right? So that's the whole directive. That's that 24 lines of code.
Wow. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, this is really eye-opening. And I agree, Pancakes. This is a very interesting use of schema directives. I've never written a custom schema directive in my life, and I've written a lot of GraphQL. So this is definitely treading in uncommon territory, I'm sure, for a lot of folks. And thanks for the deep dive on this. This is really interesting, and it's cool to see or to bring to our attention services like Pusher that allow us to
absolutely
integrate real time, even in a scenario like Federation where GraphQL subscriptions aren't supported out of the box. Right. So it's like, what do you do?
Right.
Well, this is what you do.
And before we finish up, so I don't want to take up too much time. We're getting pretty close. Like we're up to 12:30. Well, Eastern.
No worries.
But
I've got nothing after this.
Perfect.
If we go over.
Perfect. Okay. So then, because I do want to go look at the front end and how we receive these events, if that's cool.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So because we know that we can publish, but like, how do we receive that? How does the client know? How does the client know to respond to these events? How does the client know? So we're going to go here into the website, and this is a Next.js app. So it's pretty standard, right? Like you can use this pattern with everything. And another reason that I love this example and federation and why I wanted to federate my site is I wanted to show folks that like federation doesn't mean like enterprise, like, we have like 50 teams and graphs and like, like the use cases for it are many and the problems that it solves are many, and they might apply to much smaller projects than you previously thought. Like when you think about it, it's really just like my streams and my personal website, but like this is opening up an entire new world of functionality for me to do really cool interactions and experiences. So it's applicable at all levels of development, right? It's more about domain-driven design, really, at the end of the day, and separating concerns and having the ability to define those relationships and move quickly. All right, so let's get into this because I don't want to go too deep into a domain-driven design discussion because I could talk about that forever. So we have this GraphQL folder, and all the magic happens in here. So I'm just going to do real quick, pop this open, and pop this open. All right, so we can get rid of this tab now because we have them all open. So the first thing is, let's look at how we instantiate Apollo client. So it's honestly not too much different than the server in the fact that instead of a directive, now we're using a custom link, right? So we're tying into Apollo client's ability to be extended and do that. Awesome. Love it. Thank you. Thank you, Theld. We will definitely keep it going. So now again, so on the server, we have directives that allows us to tie into the underlying functionality in a very clean manner. And on the client, we have links, and that allows us to tie into the functionality in a really clean manner. So what we do is we create our real-time link, and we'll go take a look at this in a second. So this might look familiar because we're just concatenating these links together, right? We're ending on HTTP. There's nothing really fancy going on. As a matter of fact, even if we were using subscriptions, we would still have like a link, right? Well,
we'd have multiple links.
We'd have multiple links, exactly. Now you can pretty much configure it quicker because there's more documentation and such, but you still have multiple links. So it doesn't change that scenario much. So what we do is I'm passing in the channel, which again is the same channel in Pusher that I'm sending events down from the server. So that's how I coordinate between the two. So this just gives us access to register or bind to incoming events. And then what we're doing is passing in these operation policies. And the operation policies are going to dictate how we respond to the events. So before we do that, there's one more thing I want to open up here so that we can get an understanding of what this looks like written out in a query. So if we dive into components and we go to post likes, we're going to see this like mutation post. Post query. We're going to see this post query. And what you're going to notice, what's a little different here is, again, we have this custom directive live events, and we're listening for this post updated event, right? And so this is an enum. It's described within my schema. So I can't put events that don't exist because it has to match one of those. It's also an array, so you could listen to multiple events if you wanted to, and have all of those effects update this post query. So what that means is if we come here into operation policies, we'll look at this first. We define on the query post for any events, we want to handle post updated. And so what I'm passing through in my custom link is the cache and the data, right? And so really all I care about in this scenario for the post likes is updating the fragment with the new count. Right. So if I'm on one post on here in the browser, and Blades, you go on your website or on your browser and go to my website and like the post that I'm on, I'm now going to get that real-time update. That number is going to start to tick up while I'm sitting on the page. I'll see those new numbers come through. Right. Yeah. And so this is under the hood. We're using cache identify to figure out which object within the cache we're talking about, right? So we do that. This is the data structure, the post data coming through my real-time subscription. I know that it's the type of post, and then we're going to use the cache to write this fragment and drop in our count. So how do we get the cache and the data into this event, right? Like, how does that come together? So if we come here into the real-time link, we're going to see that we have our pusher channel and our operation policies. So this is where the code gets a little deeper, a little more harder to read, but I've also taken the liberty to comment it. So hopefully if you come through and dig through it, you'll be able to find it. So we're going to process events. So now this just exists by extending Apollo link, right? So this is built into Apollo and links. I don't have to know, all of the underlying things, but what I do need to know is, actually, I'm going to jump to another function real quick, which is request. And the reason why I'm jumping here is because we don't want to process every event. We only want to process events that involve our live query. So before we do anything, we check to see if it is a subscribe query. And if it's not, we stop here, right? We abort and we just continue on with the link, right? With the process. If it does involve a live, let me make this bigger. Even still, if this does,
you see me getting close to my
I did. Monitor. Yeah. If this does involve a query, we're going to create a new observable so that, or get our reference to the observable. We're going to get the cache. We're going to call process events, and that's how we get the operation and how we get the cache. So that is how we get that into our process events function. And we're going to return the new observable, which is like essentially, I'm not going to get into observables for everyone here, but this essentially allows our link to continue. So it allows the HTTP link, which is connected to this, to continue to process events. So that's how we fail early or exit early if it's not a live query. And has directives is given to us, right? So this is coming out of the Apollo client utilities. So now we know how we got the operation and the cache in this function. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to find the live directive. We're going to go get that out of the operation. This part is very ugly, but essentially what we're doing here is we're getting the event names that are going to be used to register to the pusher events. So in this case, that's going to be a string called post_updated, right? And like all constants, that's going to be the name. That's the event that we pass through in our query. So if we come back here, it's going to be this post updated. So once we have the names, we're going to take the events for each. Right, and we're going to make sure pusher is there so we don't exit. And then we're going to bind to that event name. And we're going to get the data every time post updated comes through. We're then going to grab the policy from our operation policies that we define here. So it's going to grab this function. And then it is going to pass that. It's going to call that function, passing in the cache, the data, and I pass in the query, but I just didn't have use for it within that. So that's how we add the event handlers. And yes, so anytime that we update, iPon Pancakes is asking, yep, all right, so Blade's already got it, but just to verbally also say it, whenever the cache gets updated, because I'm using write fragment, write query, cache.modify, yeah, any component that is listening for that particular query, or it has that post like as part of its query, will be updated. Yep. And so it's all behind the scenes. It's all behind the scenes, and that's it, right? And then we warn if somehow we end up we're getting events that haven't been, there's no operation policy for yet. So another great use case for this is like if I want to do like my top 5 posts, right? And let's say I have that displayed somewhere, and I run like a polling query on my database to check what are the top 5, right? And then I could push down like, new top 5, right? Posts or something like an event, and I can update that list. I can work with lists of data, single entities within the cache, and any of that. So that's kind of the whole picture right there. And it was a very fun experiment, and I'm really happy with the outcome.
Yeah, this looks. You said you spent a weekend on it. It looks like you spent
week,
a month on this
not
thing.
Weekend.
Okay.
Week.
I must have misheard.
And
it was like,
but I am not the creator of this design pattern. So Mandy Wise, who works at Apollo, she's a solutions architect, has helped many companies figure out real time with Federation. And so I am borrowing largely from the work that Mandy did, and I reference that work here, right here. So I'm going to copy this link. And so here you can actually see, so I'm going to be pushing a branch to a branch with a pusher example, but there's already an example here of how you would do this on your own.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, with Redis, cool. Right? And so like I tend to extend this with possibly a couple other types of implementations. Now they all still use.
Yeah, that would be really, really good.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
If you added
exactly, because they all still use publish and live. The only thing that's happening is the middle transport. And I don't have it here, but I have another diagram that had my original proposed architecture, which was Redis and a real-time server to deliver those updates. But then I said, like, this isn't like a big thing. Like, I personally can probably...
You don't need to reinvent
exactly.
the wheel.
I can get away with pusher, right? Like, my needs aren't so big that I need, like, my own custom system. But this works with anything, right? Any type of pub sub event. So you could use, like, AWS, SNS, Redis. If you have a database that can push real-time updates, the publish could possibly go from here straight through to the client without you having to do, the whole loop-de-loop through another service. Like, it just depends on what your architecture needs are. Hey, what's up, David? Thank you for joining us. Robert Table's in the chat. But yeah, so that is kind of the gist, or the gist.
Awesome.
The gist or the gist.
Oh, it's gist. It's like pronounced just like you pronounce GitHub.
GitHub. Yeah, just like you pronounce GIF and GIF, right? Oh no. My God, what have I done?
Oh no.
What have I done?
Please spare us. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Love the solution. Thank you for the deep dive.
Yeah.
Shout out Mandy Wise.
Shout out Mandy.
One time.
Couldn't have got there without her. That's actually a very good point. Let's give Mandy a round of applause.
There we go.
Yeah, because I could not have gotten here without her work coming before me. So why it was 1 week is because I just ripped out the Redis part and stuck in pusher. So she made it very easy. Yeah, it's spoken. Jod. Make it stop.
Cool. That's really awesome, Kurt. And yeah. Also, love to see Excalidraw.
Yeah.
Kicking around in there.
Yeah, I love me some diagrams.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It is the best. I've like somehow stumbled my way into a part of the Excalidraw team over time because I've been like working on like adjacent projects
Ow.
that like support Excalidraw.
That's
And
cool.
then one of those projects was like broken and it wasn't working, and they used it on the Excalidraw blog, and one of the maintainers messaged me. He's like, hey man, like there's this thing that is, it's like broken and I need you to fix it. And like I was like, oh, okay, well, like what is that, like you're implying that like I work for Excalidraw or something? And he's basically like, yeah, that's right. So okay,
You do.
well, guess I work for Excalidraw.
That's so funny. Theld, yeah, so you missed the beginning. So the reason why I have this is that I'm using Federation to join multiple GraphQL APIs together to back my community, right? All the web properties that I'm a part of. And when you use Federation, you can do queries and mutations, but it doesn't support subscriptions for a lot of reasons. And like, honestly, at a certain point of scale, you wouldn't want your subscriptions coupled to your queries and mutations anyway. They're very different concerns for a server to have. And you want to be able to scale those individually. So aside from that story, yeah, this is what's kicking off the updates to the client is a service called Pusher that handles real-time updates. So, and I can register to like certain mutations that happen within my APIs, and then I can respond to the client with those changes through Pusher. So somebody likes a post, it comes into my gateway. That gets resolved in the website service that has the Pusher directive. It's going to say, oh, I need to send a post updated real-time event because that's registered to this mutation. That's going to come flip around to the client through the live link in live directive, and then update the cache. And then that's just going to propagate throughout the front end, because anytime you update the cache in Apollo client, it will update any queries that are listening to that. So if we go and I actually like the solution a bit better. Last thing, I swear. Actually, you have time and I have time, so we're okay. But one of the beauties of this is that oftentimes you end up with a bit of boilerplate when you're using subscriptions, because you have to join the results of the query and the subscription together, right? At like some point. But if you notice here, we are querying. And then if I come down here into the actual component where we pass in the data. So right here, we pass in our data. I don't have to do anything else, right? Like this data object just updates. It just updates anytime the cache for that underlying query changes. Yes, it goes to everyone who's on the page at the same time. That's right. If I go to a blog post and I start liking it and you're on that blog post, you're going to see those updates. And this is going to be a lot more interactive. That's the base. That's the first interaction that I have actually wired up, but I'm going to do a whole bunch of other awesome stuff. Yeah. So it's very cool. Like I also got it when likes happen. So if you're anywhere on the site, if folks like other blog pages, it's going to have like some hearts go by. And like, if you click on them, it will take you to that post. I'm going to have like a rolling top 5 on my stream. Like there'll be listed my top 5 blog posts or a top 5 command, and that will update in real time and change. And I'm just scratching the surface. We have Discord events I can tie into. We have YouTube. I publish to YouTube. It can show up. I go live on Twitch and that shows up on my website, right? Like the possibilities now are extensive.
The possibilities are endless,
right? I can do whatever I want now. It's my playground. Anything down the pipe. Amazing. Anything that I want. Yeah, Twitch chat events, right? Subscriptions. Somebody subscribes or follows me on Twitch, I'm going to boost that on my website. Maybe like some confetti or something. Like, oh, I got a new follower on Twitch, right? Like, it depends. I have to feel this out and figure out what makes sense. But now I have the playground to do anything. So it's really cool. And because this is the last thing I'm going to show, I swear to God. In case you can't tell, I'm pretty hyped about this.
He is.
I'm deploying all of this through GitHub Actions. So anytime, so what happens here is I deploy the gateway. I almost never have to touch this unless I change the the actual gateway. When I deploy backing services, because I'm using something called Manage Federation, Apollo Studio automatically pushes the updated schema to my gateway. So I never have to touch that. But what I can do is when I deploy like the website, what I'm actually doing is I'm coming in here. So for the job, first of all, I'm only doing any work if we're within the website service, number one. So this gives me that beautiful separation of concerns and the ability to work on one service without having to deploy my entire infrastructure. And so then what I do is I check it out. And then I'm deploying that service to fly.io. And then once I know that that successfully is up, then I push my schema change to the registry. And then that in turn is going to update my gateway and I'm done. I don't have to do anything. So as long as the build finishes, I know it's already deployed and now available to everybody. And I do the same thing with the Twitch service. I have this as files and I can just come in here and add service after service after service. And to get even better, one step even further, is that every time I create a PR, I'm running a schema check. And so what this is going to do is it's going to compile my gateway schema and it's going to make sure two things. One is that it compiles properly, so I haven't broken a connection between my graphs. And then two, that I'm not actually breaking downstream functionality. So because I have this connected to Apollo Studio, every query, every mutation, everything that anyone has ever asked for my site gets put in there, and Apollo Studio will check my graph against my incoming traffic and let me know if I'm going to break something for somebody.
Very handy.
Super freaking handy.
Very handy.
Super freaking handy.
And there's some more nuance to it as well, right? Like you can make decisions like if nobody has requested one of these fields in 2 months, even if there's a conflict there, or this PR introduces a change that maybe breaks a field, you get that insight. You know, like, well, this thing hasn't been used in 2 months. We can consider this out of use and safely deprecate or remove it. Yeah,
exactly. Super dope. Awesome setup, applicable to my website and applicable to IBM, right? And that in turn is the beauty to me. It's allowing me the same things it allows teams of hundreds to thousands of developers to do. And that's pretty cool when you think about it, you know? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And that's it, folks. That's the show. That's the end of the Worst Dev website. For folks who might have joined late, if you want to see the actual website and the next app, you can come here and check it out. I hope you like it. Maybe read a post or two. I actually just released this blog post today. Social media is failing us. I hope you go and take a read of it. It's actually a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I would appreciate it if you would give that a read. Shameless plug. But yeah.
End of the show in one sense, but we've still actually got a little bit to
sorry, yeah, we've got more
to go through. Yeah, we're not done with you yet.
I feel like an infomercial, but wait, there's more. It's just not related to this.
This was really, really cool, Kurt. Thank you for going through this in such detail. I certainly had a lot of questions about this implementation, and like I mentioned, it's probably a uncommon design pattern for a lot of GraphQL devs, but it's one that adds a lot of value to a website, and I'm sure we all can see why.
Yeah. And I'm going to be working very hard over the next few months to make this less uncommon. I'm going to be producing a lot of content around the ideas behind federation, domain-driven design in the intersection of GraphQL, getting started with Next.js and Apollo, getting started with federation. So it'll be cool. You'll be able to see it. Hey, thank you. I'm glad you like the dark mode. I like the dark mode and the light mode. Personally, I'm a huge fan of them both. I hope everybody likes them both, but I tried to really find that sweet spot. You know, it's hard to appease both light mode and dark mode fans. It gets pretty difficult, but yeah, I hope that you enjoy. I also am a dark mode fan myself. But yeah, cool. With that, should we get on to the next topic that we got?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I like it. Let's go. Oh, thank you for that toggle button. That actually is an open source React component. So I'm using two things. I'm using dark mode, React dark mode toggle. You can find it if you go into the code. You can just find in the package JSON. It's like next dark mode and like React dark mode toggle or something. But if you go into the website subdirectory in GitHub, you'll see it in the package JSON. But yeah, I didn't make that. It's just free. Anybody can use it. Boom. All right, we're going to move on, folks. We got to move on. And yeah, of course. Yeah, I have actually a whole thread. If you could dig it up, let me see real quick. I think I bookmarked it, and it's just like my whole process building this whole, new app, like refreshed with Next and all of this stuff. Oh, perfect. I have it here. So copy link to tweet, and I'll drop that in chat. No core stuff. I've just, my API is technically like open across to other domains. There's like a little bit of logic. Shouldn't say this out loud, but if you wanted to, you could probably do some bad things to me right now. I guess you could just spam the like post, but I mean, that's just going to move my numbers up. So like, cool. If you really want to make it look like thousands of people like my post, I'm here for it. So it's like, it's whatever, but that's about all you can do with it other than request to see posts right now. So yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Aman. Thank you. All right. So let's get into our next item. So again, Eve Porcello is back, and she's back with something awesome. Last time we talked about a cool GraphQL course you could get to your email. And this month for February, Eve is doing a GraphQL tip a day for the month. So she's got some really interesting, cool takes on here. She even actually introduces Apollo Studio. This is something I didn't get too deep into in our last hour, but this is where all the magic is happening for me to see and deploy and check my schemas. So that's definitely something you want to do. Only hit like 12 times. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. It's 10 per person, honestly. So, and it should make fun noises. It's Naruto themed. So after 5 likes, it's like, haha. And then after 10 likes, it's like, that'll do it. It's really fun. But anyway.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun. So many things.
I gotta do this myself.
Yeah, right? And then, so I'm going to show the thread.
This is awesome, man. Cool.
Isn't that neat?
I'm watching the like count go up.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so it works. TM, it works. Okay. But yeah, so this is an invaluable source of really nifty GraphQL tips, y'all. This thread is amazing. So many different cool little useful bits that you might not have known. But definitely come and check this out. I just linked to it in the chat. Just lots of awesome stuff. Really useful information. And yeah, so it's almost like, if you like go through this, learn the Odyssey platform and get introduced to GraphQL, it'd be like you could be walking around having GraphQL conversations in like a couple of days, you'd be like, hey, you hear about that studio? You hear about that Apollo server?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
You expand your personal bubble of knowledge.
That's it.
Kicking it back to
That's it.
What we were just talking about at the beginning of the episode.
Yes, you will. Yeah, you'll grow that bubble. Cool. Next up, we have actually a little air horn job opportunity alert. Job opportunity alert. So I highlighted this because it's focused on React, TypeScript, and GraphQL stack. I believe this might be for EU, UK, and EU folks. So keep that in mind when you're reaching out. Yanni, love him. Great person. Working with them, I could only imagine would be equally as great. But yeah, he's got a nice thread laid out describing what's going on here. And yeah, definitely check that out if you're interested. So I won't dive too deep into that, but guess what? We also have another, if this would update, another job alert.
Oh my goodness.
And this one, probably more US based. I imagine they can do some EU stuff, but this is for the AWS AppSync and Amplify teams. They do a lot of stuff around GraphQL, and so, you know, could also be of interest to some folks. They have a lot of open roles. So I just want to drop that out there because you know what, like finding jobs where people are using GraphQL and building things for GraphQL can be difficult, you know, but I felt like it was worthwhile to share.
Cool. And you have some personal experience working on the AWS Amplify team.
I do. I was a dev advocate there for about a year. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I am coming up on 1 year at Apollo.
Oh my goodness.
Like a week and a half.
I can't believe I honestly can't believe it's been only a year.
Really?
Yeah, man. It feels like a lot longer since you joined.
Well, that's good. I think that's a good thing, right? Like that's good.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Either that.
Oh, go ahead. Feels like you've been here all along.
Yeah. Either that or it feels like I've been here a long time because you're so tired of me. It feels like you've been here forever and you just won't leave.
I guarantee it's not that one.
Awesome. Yeah, but yeah, it's coming up on a year. Honestly, it feels like more than a year for me too. It feels like I've been part of this team for a long time, and that's a really good thing. Boom. All right, so moving on. This is actually our last item, folks. Yeah, this is the last thing we got for today. I totally forgot to do this. Oh, second to last? Oh, you added something.
I added one that
cool.
That we'll touch on.
Nice. My bad. Yeah. So second to last, and then yeah. So this is an actual ebook. So I don't know if it's paid or not. I didn't dive too deep into it. I just came across my timeline, thought it'd be interesting. We can go take a look at it in a second. But the reason that it sparked my interest is talking about how to use WordPress as a headless CMS, which is WordPress is an amazing tool. We use it at Apollo, right? And we use it headless, and we use the GraphQL plugin. Now, this covers GraphQL and REST, but it covers the GraphQL part. So it felt like something that should be shared. So yeah, I don't know. Let's go take a look. It's called Off With Your Head, which is like a little like French Revolution, you know, but like, it's cool. That's cool. But yeah, so here we go. So we've got some reviews. You can definitely get a free sample. I haven't seen how much it costs though, but here we go. Table of contents. So what is headless? Why WordPress makes sense? How to structure your app, working with it locally. We are going to skip chapter 4. I mean, you can still read it, like useful to know, but this is the meat and potatoes. This is what we're after. So we want to look at how to use GraphQL with Apollo. I don't know what a Gutenberg block is, but I'm very curious.
Yeah, Gutenberg is the name of WordPress's new editor.
Oh,
the
that's called
editor interface is called Gutenberg,
and the block is
it works.
Like,
yeah,
got it.
Blocks are different content types within the editor.
Okay, cool. Thank you. See?
Yeah,
awesome.
If you search Gutenberg on Stack Overflow, it's like a deluge of people getting frustrated with WordPress's new editor. I want the classic editor back.
I like the new editor, honestly. I think it's good.
I think it's great. It's fine. And great news for Gutenberg haters. You can actually download a plugin that brings back the old editor. So you're all good there.
So if you are in fact hating, we still got you covered. That's hilarious.
Yes.
That's amazing. All right. Cool. So let's see. Yeah, and that's it, y'all. That's the ebook, but that's not it, because we have one more thing, which I'm gonna go get. I don't know what it is. This is a surprise for me.
By the way, the ebook is $20 USD.
Oh, thank you.
For those who are interested. Not a bad deal, honestly.
Not too bad.
For a complete resource, like end to end, teaching you how to get GraphQL working with WordPress in a headless format. That is a steal, in my opinion.
Oh, and this one is super related.
And there you go. So the last link we're going to talk about today dovetails perfectly into the thing that we just talked about on the subject of headless WordPress. At the beginning of this month, WP Engine, which is, if it's not already, it's becoming the go-to platform for hosting WordPress instances. They made a big move
They hired Jason?
in hiring Jason Ball away from Gatsby. Jason is the maintainer of WP GraphQL, which is the plugin that Kurt alluded to in the last link. It's the plugin that makes GraphQL
available
work with WordPress.
Yep.
And so when Jason was at Gatsby, they supported his work on this library, and it helped their mission of making WordPress and Gatsby integrate well. And now this is like this is just a really good sign that this technology is going to be supported and
around for a long time,
improved in the future. And so this is WP Engine, like I said, the biggest or the probably the best place to host your WordPress instances, making a clear investment into the WordPress GraphQL headless development ecosystem.
This is so awesome.
And, so yeah, big things to come. It's just a fantastic fantastic gesture statement by a company like this that this is the future. And I would highly suggest anybody who if you're interested in this stuff, check out the ebook. If you're not ready to drop $20 on a book yet, just check out the WP GraphQL GitHub repo. I'll throw a link in the chat. But the documentation in there is really good. I'm actually going to just post a link to the website.
Nice.
Their documentation is wonderful. If you have any questions about it, you can feel free to reach out to me. I've worked with it before. My Twitter handle is at the bottom of the screen there. Also, I don't want to speak for Jason, but I know Jason's really responsive and active on Twitter as well, and keen to get developers up and running with this software. So I would, if you want to have a conversation with him, you can find him. I'll plug his Twitter. Why not?
Yeah, might as well. And don't forget, if you've got $20 US, you can get a real good head start, read that ebook, and then come prepared, and get some of that stuff tried out. And right. It's a good way to get an intro into that.
Yeah. So there you go. There's all your bases covered for headless GraphQL WordPress. It's a wonderful be a WordPress developer.
It is.
It involves writing 0 PHP, which is
unbelievable.
Which is great.
Unbelievable. A long time ago. Yeah, in your opinion, in my opinion as well. Again, we're not trying to say like de facto, but for me, I also enjoy being able to use WordPress and not write a lot of PHP, mainly just because I haven't been using PHP in so long, so I'm super rusty at it. I've got nothing against PHP as a language. I've written endless lines of PHP throughout my development career. Definitely that. But, the language has changed a lot over the last couple of years in a good way. And I imagine I'd be swimming a little bit. And let me tell you something, folks. I have written my fair share of WordPress plugins. And actually, to be honest, even back then, it was not that bad of a process. I liked it a little bit. Some weird gotchas, but yeah. But it's cool to see it headless. Like that's, let's be real. That's where everything is going. So.
Yeah, and it's really cool. Once you start working with it, you'll see the power in it. Essentially, like you can expose. I mean, on topic of plugins, WordPress GraphQL allows you to expose data, even data from plugins through your graph, and it really makes it easy to build full-fledged websites using React
e-commerce,
and GraphQL.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like
internationalization.
It includes mutations. Like you can when you have WooCommerce, for example, set up in your WordPress site. WooCommerce is like the most, you know, most used e-commerce plugin. There's mutations that get exposed on your WordPress GraphQL API that you can create an order or update a customer's information or things like that. It really does allow you to do everything that you would want to do in a custom WordPress site, but using tools that you're familiar with, like React and GraphQL.
Absolutely.
Save a lot in hosting costs. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. That's a really good point. You can go headless will help a lot with that. Yeah, and that's it on our side. We'll leave it like just a second while we wrap up here. If anyone else has anything to drop in there, I'm gonna take a look at Robert Table's message here. But if you have any links or anything you wanted to share, drop them in the chat. We got a few minutes. Turns out neither myself nor Blades have anywhere to be for a few more minutes, so we could definitely try to take a look at it. But not just that, save electricity and pollution. This is a really good point and something that I think we don't talk about enough, right? Like we have, we're no Bitcoin, but at the same time, less power is a good thing, right?
Yeah. Less pollution.
Going green. You can put like a thing on your website, like, more green than hosting WordPress. So here's an interesting question. Can you do serverless WordPress? Is that a thing yet?
I don't know. Can you run? I don't know what I don't know what serverless means in the context of
WordPress.
PHP. Yeah.
PHP.
Or like what?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true. It's PHP. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what languages it would be. But in theory, if you built your own admin and your own front end that were both static apps, basically, then, you could just make requests out to WordPress.
Yeah.
So in theory, I just don't know if you can run PHP inside of serverless functions yet.
Well, yeah, that's it. Like, I think there's a lack of understanding on my side about
Me too.
What qualifies something as serverless. Because even for serverless functions, there's still a node instance running somewhere at some point.
Yes.
It's just spun up and spun down or something. I don't know. It's not yeah, there you go. Robert Table's mentioned in chat kind of this is what I'm getting at. It's like, it would mean that you would have to start up and stop your PHP process and your MySQL and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be based on my limited understanding of what serverless means. That would be like the way.
Yep, that adheres. Yeah. So serverless is a very generic term, but like at its base, it does not mean there is no serverless. It means that I do not manage any running services or processes in my own infrastructure, right? So there's no thing that I have to make sure stays up and scalable, right? Like that gets handled for me. It's abstracted. It's a layer away from me. So no PHP and Lambda.
But that would be really cool, man.
Would.
Like it's got the gears turning a little bit, like. Mm-hmm. That would be quite an interesting sell.
Yep.
Serverless WordPress.
I've been looking into serverless federation. Like the gateway, it doesn't make sense because of the startup time. It has to, pull in the schemas and organize those. But you're backing GraphQL services behind the gateway could definitely be serverless. So I'm going to be working on that coming up.
I love how Robert Tables and Thelda Valan just
look at
posted the exact same link within seconds of each other. Yo, you guys are synchronized.
That's amazing.
And that is super cool.
Yeah.
That you can bring your own PHP runtime to work in AWS Lambda. So maybe it's not
that far off.
It's not as far off as we might think, or who knows? Somebody might have already come up with this, and we just have no idea. So. Tune into next week's stream of Orbit because we may be talking about a headless serverless WordPress provider that we just are unaware of at the current time.
Absolutely. Awesome. And with that, that's actually a great place to wrap up. We're going to get out of here, folks. It's been amazing hanging out with y'all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for going on that deep dive with me through my new site. I'm super hyped about that architecture, and there's a lot of great questions. Blades, thank you for asking those. We really got to delve into that, and that was a great conversation. Hopefully that was useful to y'all. And yeah.